generation iron app on Google Play and the App Store.
I was never going to be a men's physique.
Didn't have much of an off season.
I like his physique better.
I'm always very energetic.
I will have to put me as one of the greatest.
Mr. Olympia was won by the back.
So last time I saw you, you came by the office, we did an interview, and that was right before the whole quarantine hit, like right before.
Right.
When we left the office, and next week was everything got shut down, or something like that. Remember that?
I remember that. I actually had a surgery after. I had a surgery before that, and I had a surgery after that. It almost killed me. It was really bad.
Yeah,
you know?
I saw the video where you said you almost got killed in the hospital. So what went down exactly? And
well, one of the things what happened was I had an operation, all right, and then 5 days later, I had to have another operation, and I had an operation before I saw you. So in 5 weeks' time, I had from February 13th to February 24th, I had to March 24th, I had 3 surgeries. I saw you after the first one, and then I had the second one because they botched the first one. I had a second one where they had to take out both my tonsils, but I had a growth in my throat. It was cancer. So they took out the muscle, they took out a lot of shit. It took out my lymph nodes, so I was cut from here to here. Okay, I have the scar. I could even send you a picture. And I'll send it to Vinny. And then, what's really crazy is because of the COVID, everything went insane. I had to have after the second surgery, 5 days later, I had massive bleeding out of my throat. And it was bad because the blood was coagulating, and I would reach down my throat and pull out like chunks of liver, looked like, but it was coagulated blood, and it just wouldn't stop. I had a bucket like this, and it was just pouring. And then I had to go to an emergency room in one hospital, right? Now they were saying, "Oh my God, man, we've had people bleed, but like this is really crazy." You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like I was in a car accident or shot or stabbed. This was just from an open wound in my throat. But your throat is important because you can't breathe. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You could die very easily, and I was basically dying. So they said, "Listen, we have to rush you into emergency surgery right away." Okay, because you can't keep pulling chunks of blood out of your throat. I couldn't breathe. I would gag it and throw it. It was like this, chunks. It was crazy. So now, because of the COVID, they told my family, "Well, look, you can't stay here. You have to, we'll have to let you know what happens. We're gonna have to send him to another hospital, is what it is, because we can't do that surgery here. I was in not Northern Westchester, Hudson Valley Hospital, so they had to send me to Westchester Medical Center, which is a big famous place. So now they tell me, "Listen, we got to knock you out. We got to send you immediately into surgery." So they knocked me out, okay. And the next thing I know, I wake up. And I'm not sure where I woke up. I'm not sure if it was the operating room or whatever, but I woke up and I was totally, totally paralyzed, right? I mean, I'm talking about where you can only move your eyeballs. You can't move nothing, can't go like this, you can't speak. I had tubes down my toe, can't speak, can't do anything, right? Can't even wiggle your finger, nothing. You're totally paralyzed because they forgot, I guess, to take me out of that. You know what I mean? Like, they paralyze you and they knock you out and then they paralyze you. And I could remember a nurse, my leg was hanging a little bit off the gurney. And I remember the nurse saying, one nurse saying to another nurse, "Hey, you better watch, his leg is hanging off the bed." She goes, "Don't worry about it. He's not going anywhere. I got him paralyzed." She walks over, she puts my leg onto the bed. And I don't know what happened, but first I was like really panicking bad. And then, boom, I went out. Now, I don't know if God helped me friggin', if I just, but for some reason I went out. Thank God, because you know what it's like to be paralyzed, and all you could do is just move your eyes from left to right. That's it. So now I'm paralyzed. I mean, I'm out. I wake up, and now I'm in a COVID unit. I'm in the fucking COVID unit. I don't have COVID. They had already tested me every week. I got tested because it was just in a hospital. I wake up and I'm in the ICU COVID unit, and my hands are tied like this to the bed, right? So, because they don't want me pulling the tubes out of my throat and all this stuff. So I wake up, I'm intubated. I got these friggin', I got these, the ventilator down my throat, and I'm tied to the bed, and I'm trying to motion to them, "Please get, help me get this out of my throat, you know, and can't talk. And now I'm, I'm no longer paralyzed. So I'm going like this. My hands are tied, so I'm going like this, and I'm pointing with my finger like that, but and they knew what it was, and they didn't want to do anything. The nurse was like Mrs. Clump. She was a big, heavy, fat black woman with glasses, and she kept humming, and it was driving me crazy. So I literally prayed to God because, you wake up, you're tied like an animal to a bed. You don't even know what's going on. And I started gagging, and I was actually praying. And I don't know, a lot of people don't believe in God. I do. But I asked God, please, help me. I'm scared. I can't be in this position. So I started gagging on the pipes down your throat, and I snapped the cords, and I pulled it out, and I threw it on the ground, and I jumped up. But the thing, I was going to run the out of there, but I was connected to there was a tube in my, and I knew I couldn't pull that out because, there's a balloon on the end. But anyway, so I pulled the thing, I threw it on the ground, and I told him, look, I can breathe. I'm in a fucking COVID unit. I don't need a fucking ventilator. Look, I can breathe. And they're like, okay, we're sorry. Okay, we'll take it out of here. Because I started freaking out. And I said, I want this fucking tube out of my, I'm fine. I can pee on my own. I don't need this. So they said, all right, don't pull it out. Don't pull it out. They took it out, and they put me in the bed. Now I said, okay, wait a minute now. I need to talk to my family, and I want to be out of this COVID unit. They're like, well, you have to stay here. We're, for now, we can't move you. This is ICU. So I made them give me a phone, and it was an old phone, push button phone connected to the wall. And I called up because they lost my stuff. I had no phone. And remember, I have a flip phone. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I have a little video phone, like everybody has a smartphone where I could sit there. And so I call my family. Thank God they answered because they didn't recognize the number, and they didn't know where I was. That's been over 20. This is all over a 24-hour period. They were calling the hospital and everything.
So why did they put you? That's a mistake. By mistake, they put you.
Well, yeah, you know what it is? They stick everybody. There's people been decapitated. I mean, I'm not trying to piss any of your followers off. This is a Democratic thing, man. It's like Joe Biden talking. There's nobody around him with the mask. Who talks with the mask on, and then he'll take it off as soon as the camera. Like when he goes to talk to Anderson Cooper. It's all bullshit. But anyway, so I'm over there and I'm fucking freaking out. I call my family. They're like, oh my God, thank God. We called the hospital where we brought you to. They said they sent you to Westchester Community Hospital, Westchester County Hospital, which is Valhalla. And we called that hospital, and they're like, there's no Gregg Valentino here. We don't have him here. So they didn't know where I was. Imagine your family doesn't even know where you were. They dropped you off at one hospital.
Like a straight up horror story, man. That's crazy.
Oh my God, you have no idea. So now I'm calling, and my family, my sister gets on the phone, and my sister says, are you okay? Listen, because I had such bad bleeding, and I lost a lot of blood. You know what I'm saying? She goes, they're treating you okay. Are you getting fluids? And I'm like, yeah, I think. And I look at my arms, and there's no fluids. Like, in other words, here I am. I went through this operation. There's not even a bag of saline. I haven't eaten. I haven't drinking. And I have 5 PICC lines, 3 in this arm, 2 in this arm, yet no fluids. So my sister goes, get that nurse and put her on the phone with me. So I call the nurse, and she puts her on the phone. They immediately hook me up to a bag of, of fluids, because I could feel myself. Anybody who's ever been in a position similar to something like this, you can actually feel yourself slipping. It's weird. You feel like you're dying, And they were giving me fluids. They started giving me fluids, and they were just giving me a hard time there, man. And I said, listen, I'm going to pull this fucking thing out of my arm. I'm calling my girlfriend, and I want to get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be here. And now it's 2 a.m, and I called my girlfriend up from that phone that they gave me, and her and my niece came, and I told them, because they were trying to stop me, but they even said, look, we can't stop you. We can't keep you against your will, but you could die, this, that, the other thing, with all the bleeding that you had and all this. I said, I'll take my chances at my house, because you people are fucking killing me. I mean, they had a woman come in to take my blood, right? This big, heavy black chick, and she literally went like this, you know what I mean? I'm like, holy shit. I mean, I've given blood a million times. I'm a pincushion guy. I shoot myself with steroid, not anymore, but I mean, back in the day. So needles don't affect me. But anyway, so that's I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. People are sick. I don't want to be in a COVID unit.
So, Greg, was the second surgery botched? Is that why you had to go?
The first surgery was botched. They didn't get everything, and the second surgery wasn't botched, but they even, they took out lymph nodes. They took out everything. You know what I mean? And my throat is like half that was in there is gone. It wasn't botched, but I guess after they do a surgery, can't stitch a throat. You can only cauterize it. But if it breaks off or any of the little things, the cauterization breaks off or anything, you have to have it all redone again because it's your throat and it's down. The blood goes into your lungs and you drown in your own blood. And that's what was happening with me. I was vomiting fucking blood. You just sit there, I had a bucket, I was hoping it would stop because it was coagulating in the back of my throat, but it wasn't clotting on the actual cut,
So are you good after the third one, after the whole thing you went through? Are you good now, or do you need more procedures?
No, I'm good now. Knock on wood. Supposedly, it's gone. I have to go back to the doctor. I've gone a few times, but I have to go back November 19th. But the thing is that the first doctor said, you have tonsillitis. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't have tonsillitis. I've had tonsillitis my whole life. This is not there's something wrong. So she looks at it again. She goes, oh, Greg, I'm so sorry. This is the first, before I had my first operation. Oh, Greg, I'm so sorry. You're right. I see a growth in there. You know what? It looks like it could be like, let's call it almost like a wart from HPV virus. And then she tests it and she said, oh, it's not the HPV virus, but you know what? It's just a growth. It's not cancerous. I said, are you sure? Sure, it's not cancer. She went in, she took it out, and sure enough, it was cancerous. It was 2 centimeters, which is pretty big, So she kind of botched that, she didn't she botched it, because when I had to go back to a special surgeon afterwards, because, just as a follow-up, and they did all the fucking PET scan, all that bullshit. And he's like, hey, listen, we got to go back in there, man. There's still the cancer's still in there. They didn't get all the margins.
So this whole experiences, did they kind of change your perception of healthcare?
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you something. To wake up when you are on anesthesia, to wake up, anesthesia is not just knocking you out; it's paralyzing you too. And to wake up and be paralyzed, there's stories of people who have been paralyzed and gone through whole surgeries and felt their guts being moved and cut. And it's happened to me once before with a hand. I actually woke up in a surgery. I was having surgery on a hand, and I woke up, and the doctors were like, Greg. I guess I must have been moving around, and then they put more shit, knocked me out. But you know what's fucking crazy? Follow me on this. When we left the hospital, I was in Mount Sinai in New York City. Down there, 102nd Street in Madison. So I'm over there, and my daughter came to pick me up after the 5 days when they released me from Mount Sinai. Now it's the heart of COVID. The streets are empty. It was like a ghost town, New York City. I don't have to tell you, you know the story. And when we left the hospital, we go about 5-6 blocks. So we're probably at maybe 109th, 110th Street, okay? And all of a sudden, this mob of kids, young, like high school, probably age kids comes out, and some are on bikes and they were stopping the cars in New York City. They were stopping the cars in the street. And, my daughter's an MMA fighter. Okay. She's, she does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She used to be, for a while, she was fighting bare knuckle. And she was in there with her friend in the front seat, another girl. And they jumped on her car. And it was stopping the cars from going. They jumped on her car, and she goes to get out. Now I can't fight. I'm all bandaged like this, and I got stitches.
This is part of the protest you talking about, the kids?
No, it wasn't the George Floyd because he hadn't died yet, but they were just, I guess they were wilding in the streets because there's no cops, no nothing. When COVID, remember it being they show pictures of Times Square, and there's not one person in Times Square. So these kids, they stopped. There's a bunch of Latin kids. They stopped us and they jumped on my daughter's car. But then another guy started fighting with him over there, and they jumped off my daughter's car and all piled on him. And my daughter went. Thank God. It was like God was looking out because she wanted to get out of the car. I'm like, look at all you're gonna. What are you gonna do? Fight all these people? You're choking one guy out, you're gonna get killed. So it was really, really, it was a hell of an experience. But now I have like post-traumatic stress, and because of the being tied down and waking up tied down, having pipes down your throat, you know what I'm saying? And the whole being paralyzed. I mean, that is brutal. Do you know what that picture yourself where you're on a gurney, you cannot move. You can only move your eyes like this. Look, that's it. You cannot speak. You first of all, you have pipes down, but you cannot move your lips. You cannot do anything. You can't sniffle like that. You can't do any of that. You're 100% paralyzed. And then later on after that, to wake up and as soon as you come out, your hands are tied like this to the gurney. You're like almost like in a cross position, you know, and you can't move, and they're not helping you. They're walking around you. I don't need a ventilator, and I'm in a COVID unit. You know what I mean? In ICU COVID, you know, and I'm like, holy shit, they're going to kill me, because I believe that I know people who've had the COVID, and the ones that really do well are the ones that fight it at home. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ventilators. You put somebody on a ventilator, especially if they don't need it.
It was. I think it was just a chaotic situation. It was like the worst possible time to get a surgery.
Absolutely no family. Vlad, you got family. You have people who love you and care about you. If you're in a hospital, you know, and you're at this, they would say, "Excuse me, why isn't Vlad here? Why doesn't he have any fluids? He's got no fluids. What's going? You know, why is he tied? No, he doesn't need his hands to." You know, family looks out for you. But I saw a 10-year-old boy in there. You know, I assume he was 10, but he was young. He was a young boy, somewhere around that age, and they had him on a gurney, and they had him with the thing, and he was looking around like this. Imagine the fear that he had. Can you imagine? Because kids want their mom and dad there. This whole can't have people in the hospital. It's bad.